Hello and welcome to the bike you've just seen, which is my old BMW S1000R MCN long-termer. So I had that bike in 2021 when that model came out. I didn't ride it as much as some of my other termers simply because we're at the tail end of our COVID years, but I still did a fair few miles on it, travelling around the UK, doing track days and just generally enjoying it. And I've got to say, it's one of my favourite long-termers of all time. I love Super Nakeds. I've loved the KTM Super Duke that I've run this year, but I really did enjoy the S1000R, and I still think it's one of the best Super Nakeds out there, because it's not probably the most immediately impressive of all the Super Nakeds. All the competition have got a lot more power, but I think it's better than an M1000R. The M1000R is very serious, it's very stiff, it's got wings, it's got the S1000RR engine in it with 207 bhp. The S1000R's got 163. And, you know, in all the MCN tests we've done in recent times, it's shown, comparison tests, that 200 bhp bikes, whether they're super bikes or super nakeds, aren't great for the road. You know, to get that kind of power, they sacrifice power elsewhere in the revs, you know, right down low where you need it. So generally they're a little bit peakier. And also their chassis, because they're designed to go on racetracks because they've got so much power, they're generally a little bit stiff, a little bit wooden, not as compliant as a road bike. And I think as an actual road bike, the S1000R is fantastic. They're bringing out a new improved model in 2025 with 170 bhp and a few other tweaks, but it's nice to see they haven't gone too far down the M route with it. So at the end of 2021, the bike went back to BMW, but a good friend of mine, Andy Reynolds, who you saw at the beginning of this video, he also is a long-time sponsor of mine for my racing activities. He really liked it. Every time he saw it, he said, I'd love to buy that. So he contacted BMW and he bought it. As you'll see in the video, he loves his bikes. He's got loads and loads of bikes. He's got a great biking history. But he spoke to me recently and said that he couldn't resist getting the S1000R tuned. So he took it to BSD and they jacked the power up to 191 bhp with a full system and remap. And they said they could have got even more. They could have got over 200 if they wanted to. So the big question is, has Andy spoilt my S1000R by putting all that extra power in it? Is it still the well-rounded road bike that I used to know and love? Well, I went up and saw Andy to find out. So now I'm here with Andy and my old bike, and it's absolutely amazing to see it in the flesh again. You've really looked after it, haven't you?
It's been one of them really, from when I first bought it. Obviously coming off riding sports bikes and then looking for a naked, obviously watching you and what you've been doing with this, and obviously the conversations we've had, I thought this would be the one for me really.
Yeah. And just before we go on about this bike, you've had a lot of bikes in your life. What's your riding history? You don't have to list them all, but you know, most recent.
Recent bikes I've had the 2018 S1000R.
Yeah.
I've had a GSXR K8000.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of track bike GSXR 750s.
Yeah.
Very much into Suzuki's. Various off-road bikes. Do like a bit of off-roading. I've got a KTM 450 at the minute. Wow. I've had RMs. Big two-stroke fan.
Yeah.
Current bikes at the minute, I've got two RDLC 350s.
Yeah.
One of them's a hybrid 421 Athena engine. The other one's standard, which is being built at the minute. I've got a 1991 RGV that's been done to full GP spec, which is a bit obsessive, but yeah, nice little thing to have.
Wow.
And then obviously going back in history, you know, more I'd say Suzuki GSXRs. They sort of took me from going from two-stroke bikes.
Yeah.
The GSX, when I first passed my test, it was the first bike I bought, and I was stuck with it for years, going through different models, until the BMW turned up. And I just think I like the high revving bikes. These deliver the power so much smoother than a Suzuki does, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do like the rawness of the Suzuki. It feels
Yeah.
like you're riding the bike. But these things, yeah, they're just amazing.
This is kind of like a modern day Suzuki. I mean, everyone says the S1000RR is what the GS6R1000 would have been if Suzuki had bothered to sort of develop it in such a strong way.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is with these, the suspension, everything, you know, in the quick shifters, auto blippers, everything you have on these bikes to help you ride them just gives you more of that feel that you can just get on and ride.
Yeah.
With safety as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the pace of these things are just blistering, whether it's on the road or track, you know. And I think when you do a bit of track riding as well, and then when you do take them on the road, you need to be really careful to remember where you are.
Exactly.
Very easy to go above speed limits.
Yeah. Well, that brings me on to what you've done to this bike. So I ran this bike as a long-termer, as I said earlier, and never thought it needed more power. But you've tickled it slightly, haven't you? So this makes about, I think standard was about 160. Yeah. This is knocking on the door of 200 now. So why have you tuned it?
Why? So basically, I think it's an obsession with me. Yeah. I think anything that's standard the same with everybody else's. I like to just have subtle differences.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not at the level of riding where I need to go beyond that. But at the end of the day, I like them to look nice, sound nice, and ride nice. Really,
it looks nice.
Just have a bit of extra power where you need it. So obviously, when I bought this, the first thing I did was I put the tail tidy on.
Yeah.
Just to tidy up the back end, really.
Yeah.
Never really thought the exhaust or anything. It's just a really smooth ride. Obviously, being quite big on the bike suits me, but obviously there's quite a lot of wind with the standard. Mm-hmm. So I put the new deflector on the front, which sort of takes it over the top of me now, which is, I wouldn't say they're the best looking, but
useful.
Yeah, you know, it does the job, and that was it for me. And then obviously I went for the M Sport bits and pieces. I went for the bling, so I had the levers, the wing mirrors, rear set, and obviously the chain adjusters.
Oh yeah.
And went to sort of that level.
Carbon. That wasn't on there before,
carbon hugger and chain guard.
Nice.
And sort of thought, well, I'm happy with that now.
Yeah.
And then obviously it was going in for its MOT, and I used BSD down at Peterborough, and I thought, I don't like the catalytic converters on them.
No,
you can buy the Hyaberg fairing for the bottom, but it looks poxy in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm sure, you know, people that want to cover them up, you can, but for me, I'd rather just put the full exhaust on.
Yeah.
So obviously with that came the remapping. So it had to be remapped, and I haven't gone too crazy with it. Like I say, the guys have done all the remapping. Obviously the full racing exhaust on, which I'm sure would be a conversation on a certain day with a certain person if it was to happen. Very loud. Which is a lot louder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it does bark, doesn't it?
It does. But, I mean, the bike itself performs. But obviously, with anything that you do, as you know, the minute you take away the standard level parameter and lift it up to the next level, you lose that bit of smoothness.
Yeah.
For me, at the minute, the bike loves from 4,000 onwards. It's in its own playground. And it's lovely to ride it in there. But you lose a bit of that sort of low-down smoothness. So that's where we took it really, and the reason for doing it was they brought out the new M1000R.
Yeah.
The black one, I just loved the bike. Even now, I just love the bike. And I thought, right, I'm gonna trade this one in. I'm gonna go and get myself an M.
Yeah.
Obviously, after the conversations we had, it was like, and the amount of riding I do with my work and being away a lot, I don't get out very often at all. So it's more for something for that day when I come home. And I just want to go out for a ride, really. So I made the decision. I thought I'd rather spend the money on this one.
Yeah, because it was a big chunk of money to find for the M.
It was really, and like I say, I mean, for the amount, if I was riding it every day, it's and I'm sure they are amazing. But I purposely not rode one.
Right.
Made my decision now.
Yeah.
And quite happy to stick with what I've got.
Yeah.
But and that's where I am. That's where I am with it at the minute. Absolutely love it. Can't see me getting rid of it.
Yeah.
I think for the amount of riding I do and the type of riding I do now, you know, I can do a bit of touring on it. I can do a bit of track daying on it. I can do anything I like really. And they're just a fantastic bike for that.
It's a fantastic performance bike for the road. I think the M's kind of been more designed for the track. So on the road, it is quite stiff, it is quite aggressive. The wings, they sort of take the fun out of wheelies.
Yeah.
But so you kind of hopefully left all the good bits about this bike. Quite compliant suspension. It's still got its kind of milder cams in there. It shouldn't be too revvy.
I'd be lying if I say I haven't looked at Omnis and KTEC. I would be lying. I have thought, is that the next level? I mean, I must admit, I have got the carbon wheels for this.
Yeah.
They're in a box at the minute, and come early next year for next year's riding, the bike will have them on.
Yeah.
Now, whether the suspension will be changed by then, there may be a possibility.
You'd lose the electronic element though, wouldn't you?
Yes. And that's a big choice, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, but for now, once I get the wheels on, I'll just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
Like I say, I've not done, since I've had the work done to it, I've done 6 miles, if I was honest with you. I've been working away from home, so and I think really the weather maybe might get the odd weekend, but apart from that, I think next year it's just about getting it ready and just touching up the last bits and pieces, really.
I think for when I had it, the versatility of electronic suspension, because I used to tour on it, I used to commute on it, I used to do track days. Electronic suspension gives you the ability to do all those things well, but if you're just going to use it for a sunny morning, you don't need all that versatility. You can just make it to the bike you want
exactly
to that point. So you know, perhaps that's a good idea. So the question remains, all the time you've had it, I've really missed this bike. 2021 I had it.
You're not having it back?
No. But can I have a go?
Yes, of course you can.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Cheers,
No
Andy.
problem.
Well, I can't believe I'm on my old S1000R. Fantastic. I remember having to take this back to work, ride it for the last time. I was really sad. I hadn't done as many miles as I'd normally do because of COVID, but had a couple of trips to Scotland and Wales. A couple of those were with my girlfriend Nina. It was absolutely amazing. I had some fantastic fun on this. It feels like home. Now, the M1000 is a fantastic bike, obviously, and it's a given it's very, very fast. It's a given it's brilliant on track, and it's got wings and all the rest of it. But you know, the thing that makes it that good as a performance bike kind of detracts from its manners on the road, really. It's just a little bit too harsh, a little bit too angry. It's a great thing about this, and what still remains, is just that little bit more compliant. I took this on the track a few times and it was a little bit too soft, and it kind of, that was its limit, really. But on the road where you're going to use it most of the time, it was just lovely, as it still is. Really nimble, really manoeuvrable, and although the wings don't really intrude on the M1000R just for normal riding, like I said, if you want to pull wheelies, it actually isn't very easy to steer when it's wheeling, whereas this is a really good stunt bike. I mean, not really that important, is it? But the thing that makes the M1000R a little bit kind of aggressive on the road, really, is its power. It's got a lot of it. It's got shift cam, but it's still very hard edged. So the engine on this doesn't feel kind of soft and cuddly anymore. And a lot of that's down to the race pipe. It feels quite instant. But I've got to say, it's still really tractable. Look, in 6th gear, doing 27 mile an hour. It's loving it. Feels like riding down a pit lane. 26 mile an hour, 4th gear. It's lovely. Really lovely. And the S1000R never really wins group tests when it comes to all the super nakeds, even the M1000R. You know, it's a trait of an inline 4-cylinder engine, and it just doesn't have the character of big V twins and cross-plane cranks and V4s and what have you. But it's a lovely engine. still tractable. Oh wow, what a lovely, lovely bike. Yeah, this might have 191 bhp, I think. And there's no way you're going to be testing that on the road. But what I was really interested in seeing is if it had ruined its lower speed manners, and it really hasn't. Wow. What an amazing bike. I really miss it. Quick shifter's lovely, flipper's lovely. Oh, it still sounds nice. Let's give that a little tickle. Oh dear. This is better than M1000R, sorry. Wow. I think Andy's done a really nice job on this. He's just given it a little bit more juice without really spoiling the essence of the S1000R. And it looks fantastic. BSD told Andy that because it's been remapped, it's going to take a few miles to kind of really bed in properly, and they warned him it would be a little bit rough at low speed, but it really isn't. It just runs really, really smoothly. And then you've got all the other good BMW stuff. It's got heated grips, cruise control, this amazing dash, which I think would probably still link to my phone now after all these years. You can use the BMW app for sat-nav, turn-by-turn sat-nav, which is really good, which has guided me around many a lovely place in the past, both on this bike and other BMWs. The dash hasn't really changed. Brakes, still excellent. It's got Hayes calipers. Little pop and bang. Love it. Wow. Really comfortable too. Got an M seat on it, but it's not too harsh. Got decent leg room, nice bar position. I mean, I suppose the exhaust is a little bit shoutier. It's the only thing that would kind of put me off going touring on it or whatever. But apart from that, you know, as I did before, you stick a tank bag on this and then set the controls for the heart of Europe and off you go. They're so tractable, these engines. You know, who needs shift cam? You've still got the best of all worlds here. You've got nearly 200 horsepower, you've got a bike that's tractable at low revs. Wow. So, I think it's safe to say Andy's created a rather nice S1000R. And to be honest, I think just in these normal conditions, on normal roads, in normal Britain, it's absolutely fantastic. So the big question is, has Andy spoiled my bike? Well, the answer is no. It's still the S1000R I used to know and love. It doesn't actually feel that much different to ride, to be honest. The changes to the engine haven't really spoiled its tractability. It's still lovely and tractable, as you saw in the video. You can poodle along at less than 30 mile an hour in 6th gear. and it pulls really nicely. Sounds a bit more raw now. It sounds a bit like my S1000R race bike, but the best thing about it is what was great about it before is that the chassis is still a road chassis. You know, still got road suspension, road brakes, road tyres, and it still feels really, really nice, whereas the M1000R feels like a block of wood. And it only really makes sense if you go on track. But then when you take it on track, because it's naked, it's never going to be as good as a superbike anyway. So these 200 bhp nakeds are a little bit, I wouldn't say useless, but you can't really, they don't excel in any one area really, apart from, you know, on the spec sheet by saying that they've got 200 brake horsepower and all the bells and whistles. But it's, that bike has thrown up a few interesting questions for me. If BSD could find that amount of extra power so easily, just with a pipe and a remap and possibly more, is an S1000R simply an S1000RR that's just been turned down a little bit? I mean, I was always under the impression that the S1000R and the XR, with their 160 odd bhp power outputs, had different cams to make them more tractable on the road. So yeah, that's my first question. And the second one is, if you can get that much power and tractability out of the S1000R or the S1000XR, what's the point of shift cam? You know, what is the point of shift cam? The idea it's sold to us, like all variable valve systems, is that it gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you tractability down low and power up top, and that's true. But as many of us guess, it's probably down to emissions. It's probably to let these really powerful engines that the manufacturers produce adhere to emissions regulations down low in the revs. They can make them really kind of docile and quite mild down low revs, where all the Euro 5 probes and microphones go when they're testing them. And then they can have an engine that sort of screams and makes loads of power up top to give you the best of both worlds. So yeah, I think shift cam is more to do with emissions and actually what the bikes feel like to ride, because Andy's bike feels absolutely great. And I'm really glad he let me ride it. It was fantastic to be on it again. It brought back loads of great memories. It's a fantastic bike, in amazing condition. So yeah, thanks very much, Andy. And thank you for watching, if you made it this far. And I will see you on the next one. There you go. Too painful, is it? Let's see if it's come out.